Hey everyone, welcome to Quick Break Games, and today we're going to be talking about what could be the most important LEGO game of all time, 2005's LEGO Star Wars the video game. Now today it often gets overlooked by 2007's LEGO Star Wars the Complete Saga, but we can't let this original game go unnoticed. The massive success of LEGO Star Wars the video game pushed developer Traveller's Tales into essentially doing LEGO games full-time for over the past nearly 2 decades now. In this video, we're going to do a deep analysis and retrospective and see if we can explain why LEGO Star Wars the video game became such a hit. LEGO Star Wars the video game mainly focuses on the prequel era of Star Wars episodes 1 through 3, as this game was made largely to promote the release of episode 3 Revenge of the Sith at the time. When you first boot up the game, you're greeted with the classic Star Wars theme at the main menu. After starting a new game, you'll immediately begin playing as Qui-Gon Jinn with Obi-Wan Kenobi at your side in Dexter's Diner. A lot of modern games will bombard you with 10 plus minutes of cutscenes and tutorials, so it's nice to see that you immediately start playing here. Now, Dexter's Diner acts as a hub world that interconnects all of the game's levels. I find it kind of funny how the developers chose this as the game's central location, considering it only shows up for about 2 minutes in one Star Wars movie. But anyway, at this point, new players will probably start playing around at the diner, so I guess now is a good time to talk a little bit about drop-in, drop-out co-op, which I think is a feature we take for granted nowadays. Because when you think about it, it's pretty impressive. At any time during gameplay, and I mean at any time, even during boss fights and stuff, a second person in your room can hook up a controller, press the start button, and immediately begin playing. And at any time, they can pause the game and drop out as well, all without needing to restart the level or anything like that. It's pretty neat, but for the majority of this video, we'll be talking from a solo player's perspective. At the start, you'll be playing as Qui-Gon Jinn or Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you'll eventually stumble your way through the door that represents Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and then Level 1, Negotiations. So here there will be 2 options, story or free play, but you'll be forced to play story for now. From here you'll see the first of many cutscenes that you'll watch throughout the game. There's 0 voice acting here, so LEGO characters use mumbles, grunts, and screams to communicate, and it can be pretty funny. And since they don't talk, I definitely think it helps to be familiar with the movies. You'll definitely get a kick out of these cutscenes and find that they have quite a bit of charm to them. But now let's talk about gameplay. You have the option of playing as Qui-Gon Jinn or Obi-Wan Kenobi, who pretty much play identically as Jedi-class characters. This level acts as a tutorial where you'll learn that the Jedi can use the Force on glowing LEGO objects, they can attack enemies with their lightsaber, and they have the ability to double jump. You'll notice you can destroy almost any LEGO object around the level, which will give you studs. These act as the game's currency. Silver studs are worth 10, gold 100, and blue 1000. And as you collect these studs, a bar will fill at the top of the screen, and filling this bar in each of the game's levels makes you a true Jedi. So it's something you'll want to do in each level if you're really going for that 100% completion. Additionally, in this game, there's not really a penalty for dying. You lose studs, which most of the time you can recollect, but other than that, there's pretty much unlimited lives, so the gameplay is very relaxed and stress-free, which is great for younger audiences. So after getting past the starting room, you'll immediately be thrown into combat against battle droids. The lightsaber combat is simple to where anyone can mash the attack button to take out enemies, but there's also some depth for more advanced players. For example, you can hold the attack button to block enemy attacks. However, if you press and hold it right as the enemy's blaster bolt is about to hit you, you'll deflect it back at them. Another example, when you're swinging your lightsaber, instead of mashing the attack button, if you press it at just the right time at the end of each swing, your lightsaber will sparkle and you'll do a special combo that can break enemy defenses during lightsaber duels. But we'll talk more about those duels later. But besides those moves, you also have a Jedi Slam move, which is quite effective. The Negotiations level also introduces you to TC-14, which is a Protocol Droid class of character. These characters can unlock doors with Protocol Droid panels, but outside of that, they can't really attack or jump, so it's really not beneficial to play as them that much. And then towards the end of the Negotiations level, you'll encounter Droidicas, and performing the Jedi Slam move will make short work of their shields. Now when you beat this first level, you'll unlock the ability to go back to Dexter's Diner and jump into Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith, so it's cool that the developers give you the option to play things out of order if you want. You also unlock any characters that you played as during that level, in addition to the free play mode option. Again, we'll talk about free play a bit later. Moving on to the second level of Episode 1, Invasion of Naboo, it introduces the legendary Jar Jar Binks character. So yeah, he is quite useful since you'll often come across ledges that are too high for Qui-Gon or Obi-Wan to reach. And when you get to the third level, the game switches things up and has you playing as Queen Amidala and Captain Panaka, who are blaster class characters. These characters lack the ability to double jump or use the Force, but they can shoot enemies from a distance and can use red grapple markers that you'll notice on the ground throughout the game. What's funny is that this ability is based on one short scene towards the end of The Phantom Menace, but it's used not only throughout this game, but throughout many LEGO games after this, all due to this 15-second scene in The Phantom Menace. But anyway, you eventually meet up with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, which adds a new dynamic to the gameplay. You'll come across situations that require a blaster character, like this target shooting one, but you also come across scenarios like this where you need to use a Jedi's Force abilities. The game forces you to switch between different character types, which I really like, and then at the end of this level, you'll be guaranteed to have collected at least one Minikit collectible. There are 10 of these scattered throughout each level. Most of these will be impossible to get on your first playthrough of the level in story mode, so I guess now would be a good time to talk about free play mode. Free play lets you replay a level with any character you've unlocked, allowing you to collect Minikits that were previously inaccessible. But I really wouldn't recommend going into free play until you've at least completed the story for all levels in The Phantom Menace, as you won't have every ability unlocked at this point just yet. But alright, let's move on to the next level, the Mos Espa Pod Race. This completely switches things up as the game becomes a racer. And I'm not gonna lie, this level can be pretty tough on your first couple playthroughs. All you have to do is hold down the gas and steer, and then reach the checkpoint markers before time runs out, but the time limits to reach each checkpoint are actually pretty strict. You need to make sure to avoid obstacles like boulders and Tusken Raiders shooting at you, while also making sure to hit booster pads that are scattered throughout the race. It's not a walk in the park. It can be a little frustrating, but I do like how this level breaks things up from the regular on-foot gameplay. After finishing the race, you'll escape Tatooine and move on to the Retake Theed Palace level. This is probably my least favorite level due to the sheer length of it. Up until this point, the levels are around 5 to 10, maybe 15 minutes long. This one is probably 2 to 3 times longer depending on how much you're exploring. One cool thing here is how many characters you have at your disposal. You have Jedi, Blaster, and the newly introduced Astromech type character through R2-D2, and the newly introduced small type character through Anakin Skywalker's boy character. Astromechs work very similar to protocol droids in that they have a special astromech droid panels that they can use to open doors. They are slightly more useful than protocol droids though, since they can hover for a few seconds to reach otherwise inaccessible areas. They also have a little stun attack that can be used on droids, but to be honest I don't really find it all that useful. And then small characters like Anakin Boy can use special hatches or chutes that you'll see throughout the game, allowing you to reach certain areas. Okay, now for the final level of The Phantom Menace, Darth Maul. Remember that lightsaber deflect move I was talking about earlier? Darth Maul sends in droids to shoot you over a gap, and since you're stuck playing as a Jedi who have no ranged attacks, the only way to defeat them is to deflect their blaster shots right back at them. If you're a new player, you likely haven't discovered this ability yet, so I love how the game sort of forces you to learn it here. Throughout most of the level, you'll be chasing Darth Maul throughout all the iconic locations from the movie. At one point, there'll be 2 yellow commander droids who will keep calling in more enemies, so you'll want to focus on taking out those commanders first. And eventually you'll get to fight Darth Maul himself, where the game introduces you to lightsaber duels. Enemies with lightsabers will often block your attacks. You can use that special lightsaber combo move I was talking about earlier, but unfortunately the most effective way to take down bosses in this game is to pretty much just spam the Jedi Slam move. It's pretty much guaranteed to work and is easier than doing the special combos, so I think it's kind of a shame that they make the Jedi Slam so overpowered. Throughout the fight, Darth Maul will start to use the Force on you, which forces the player to switch to the other character to hurt him. He will also jump up to high ledges where you need to use the Force to push objects back at him, so I do like how the lightsaber combat is broken up a bit with some variety there with the Force. Now throughout this video I haven't been talking too much about the cutscenes, but they are great. Once you take out Darth Maul, there's this pretty funny cutscene of Qui-Gon Jinn dying with his eyes turning to X's, with Maul's legs just like dancing in the background. TT Games were masters at making humor without even using dialogue. Okay, so that is episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Before we move on to Attack of the Clones, I think now would be a good time to check out the shop in Dexter's Diner. Here's where all the studs you've been collecting so far come into play. You can purchase hints, characters, and extras, as well as enter cheat codes here. But to be honest, hints are pretty much useless, but they're cheap and you may learn something you didn't know. And then there are loads of characters to buy. Characters become available for purchase after you've at least encountered them in story mode. Darth Maul is a character you probably want to buy at this point since he is the last character type in the game, the Sith class. Sith pretty much have the same abilities as Jedi, except they can use the Force on dark side objects, which show up kind of rarely throughout the game in some levels. Lastly, there's extras, which sort of work like cheats, but some are just fun or goofy effects you can add to the game. There's stuff like silhouettes, which make every character a black silhouette, or purple, which gives every Jedi or Sith a purple lightsaber. There's lots of fun stuff here, but there's also useful things like invincibility and Minikit detector, which will cost you a pretty penny. Now, once you buy Darth Maul, you'll have at least one character with every ability in the game, so if you wanted at this point, you could start replaying the Phantom Menace levels in free play in order to collect all 10 Minikits, or fill the True Jedi meter if you missed it in story mode. Collecting all 10 Minikits in a level gives you a large stud bonus, and will build a Lego model of a vehicle that pertains to that level. These can then be viewed in the outside garage area of Dexter's Diner. I like how they are displayed out there. It really encourages you to collect all the Minikits in every level and kind of fill out the garage. But anyway, let's move on to Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones kicks off with Discovery on Kamino, where you get to play as the Jedi Master version of Obi-Wan and his astromech droid R4-P17. The first half of this level is more exploration based, while the second half is more combat focused once bounty hunter Jango Fett reveals himself. This game is filled with fun little Easter eggs. There's a side room where you can activate this little Star Wars disco party. But moving on, there is this fun section where you fight these flying Kamino droids. I have no idea what they're called, but this is the only place in the entire game where they show up. The developers went through the effort of creating this enemy for about 30 seconds of gameplay. I always found that kind of interesting. Then on the left side of this hallway there is one of those dark Sith objects I was talking about earlier. That's where you would need a Sith character in free play mode to access it. But anyway, the level ends with a cool boss fight against Jango Fett. You have to deal with Jango Fett's Slave 1 ship as well, which makes it a pretty fun fight. The second level, Droid Factory, has you playing as Anakin, Padme, R2, and C-3PO. There's a good variety of character abilities that you're switching between in this one. Does anyone else hate how those smashing things insta-kill you just by touching it? That always annoyed me, but you're also introduced to a new enemy type, the Geonosians, but gameplay-wise it's not much different than fighting droids. Overall, this is a pretty fun level with a good mixture of puzzles and combat. Moving on to the third level, Jedi Battle. This is the famous arena scene where a whole bunch of Jedi come in to rescue our heroes. Here you get to play as Mace Windu for the first time. He has the same abilities as other Jedi, but he does have his own unique lightsaber moves and animations, which is pretty cool, and of course his purple lightsaber. In this level, you'll have to go around rescuing Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme while dealing with loads of droids, including the new Super Battle Droid enemy. This is a fun level, but I always found the later parts to be a little bit annoying. You see, the game has you take out certain droids within the arena, but they oftentimes can be hard to find. I'll end up doing a couple laps around the arena and still not find that one red droid that I'm missing. That's just a small gripe I had with this level, but eventually the level ends with Yoda rescuing everyone on his Republic gunship. Did anyone else notice Anakin has the wrong lightsaber color here? But this leads us to the next level, the dreaded Gunship Cavalry. Gunship Cavalry seems to be universally hated in the community, but I never really understood why. This is another vehicle level where you control a Republic gunship as you chase after Count Dooku. I guess the most frustrating aspect is how the level is sorta on rails in the sense that the camera keeps scrolling forward, so you can't ever go backwards. You have the ability to move around as well as shoot the different enemies and obstacles the game throws at you. There are these annoying lasers, but I never found them too hard to avoid. At the end, the camera switches to a more third-person perspective as you fly around shooting those laser turrets, which lowers a force field allowing you to shoot these blue generator things. I don't see what's so bad about this. It's really like a 3-minute level, assuming you don't die. I think the problem may be that this level is kind of difficult playing it as a kid, but to me, playing it as an adult now, it's pretty simple. And then last, we have the Count Dooku level. Yes, that's right, for some reason, Attack of the Clones only gets 5 levels when the other 2 movies get 6. I've heard that this might be because they ran out of time in development. You have to remember, this game likely had a strict development window since the game needed to be released in time for Revenge of the Sith. But anyways, you play as Obi-Wan and Anakin, where you get to do the second lightsaber duel of the game. Dooku is a bit different since he does this move that is supposed to resemble Force Lightning, I guess. It just sort of looks like a blue beam of energy to me, but you reflect it back at him, lightsaber duel him, reflect his lightning back at him again, rinse and repeat. Of course, we have to talk about how this level introduces Yoda as a playable character. Yoda has all of the Jedi abilities, but he is completely unique in terms of how he plays and his animations. When you have his lightsaber out, he moves by jumping around. It feels a little bit weird to control, but it's accurate to the movies, I guess. And then when you put away his lightsaber, he moves at a snail's pace. It's definitely not a reasonable way to move around in this game. Luckily, when you jump, Yoda will spawn his little hover chair, which enables him to get around pretty quickly. I love the work Traveler's Tales put in to make Yoda feel unique to the other Jedi. But that's pretty much the Count Dooku level. The ending cutscene for episode 2 introduces us to Darth Sidious and his evil laugh. I love how his face is already deformed before it actually gets deformed in the next movie. That makes total sense. But okay, so let's talk about Revenge of the Sith. The first level, Battle over Coruscant, is an on-rails vehicle level where you play as either Anakin or Obi-Wan's ship. This level lets you move around the screen, and then you also have a shoot button, but that's pretty much about it in terms of controls. If you're having trouble controlling the ships, there is an option to uninvert the controls in the pause menu. There's multiple areas in this level where you need to shoot certain red sections on different parts of the ships in order to get them to go out of your way or destroy them. So this level is definitely going to keep you on your toes. I like how whenever you die, you hear the iconic Wilhelm scream. What a classic. Level 2 is Chancellor in Peril, where you navigate through General Grievous's ship to rescue Palpatine. Here you get to play as the Episode 3 variants of Obi-Wan and Anakin. This is a fun level with lots of combat, good and varied level design, and the second Count Dooku boss fight. This time the fight is broken up with sections where he sends in super battle droids and regular droids to attack you. Other than that, you can pretty much spam the Jedi Slam ability to defeat him, and once you do, you get to see this cool execution. Brutal. After that, the level continues with Palpatine introduced as a new playable character, but he's pretty much completely useless. He can't attack and he has no special abilities, so all he can really do is walk and jump. Yeah, he's not really someone you're going to want to ever play as again. Towards the end of the level, you're introduced to a new enemy, General Grievous's bodyguards. These guys are probably the toughest standard enemy in the game, I would say. I like how the game lets you knock off their heads and they'll keep attacking you, a very nice reference from the movie. Moving on to the General Grievous level, this one has you playing as Obi-Wan and Commander Cody, because he was totally there during this fight. But in all seriousness, this sorta highlights a problem with the drop-in, drop-out co-op feature. Since the second player must always have the ability to drop in at any time, every level needs to have a second character with you, even if it doesn't make sense in the context of the movie or the story of the level. It's not a big deal, but sometimes player 2 will get stuck playing as an astromech droid in some levels, which is just objectively not as fun as playing as a Jedi or something like that. But back to this level. This level is basically attack General Grievous, chase him on the cliffs, repeat. This is a very brief one, but at least Commander Cody gets some use when he has to shoot some of the explosives. Also, we get to see Obi-Wan blow away smoke from his blaster. Whew. Okay, next up we have Defense of Kashyyyk. Now this is my least favorite level in the entire game. Here we get to play as Yoda again, but we also get Chewbacca as a new playable character. He plays pretty much like any other blaster character, but he does have his signature crossbow. In this level we get to see the iconic Execute Order 66 scene in LEGO form, which introduces clone troopers as enemies for the first time. This level does open up a bit as you get to go around rescuing a few different Wookiees before you can proceed. This leads us to the dreaded beach section. This section has infinitely respawning enemies of droids, clones, clone troopers on walkers, on top of these mines scattered throughout the beach that insta-kill you. I'm not sure what they were thinking here, but you ultimately continue through the forest of Kashyyyk until you reach Yoda's little escape pod ship. This level drags on a bit too. I wouldn't say it's as bad as Retake Deed Palace in terms of dragging on, but this one's on the longer side for sure. Moving on to the 5th level, Ruin of the Jedi. Here you play as Obi-Wan and Yoda as you return to the Jedi Temple. One cool thing about this level is how it introduces the disguised clone enemy. This is actually something that was going to appear in the movie but got cut. Obviously, Traveler's Tales didn't know it was going to get cut when they were making this game, so it kind of just got left in here, which is pretty neat. The later half of this level has some unique puzzle solving where you got to do some platforming to reach these switches. It's pretty fun and switches up the gameplay from just being combat the whole time. Alright, now for the final level of Episode 3 and the entire game, Darth Vader. We got to talk about the opening cutscene of this level. Is this the first time we see a pregnant Lego minifigure? Also, just look at Anakin's frustration. But this level is cool because although Anakin and Obi-Wan are supposed to be fighting each other, it has you sort of working together to survive the harsh elements of Mustafar. It opens up with a section where you're running towards the camera while the floor is falling out from under you. This part can actually be kind of frustrating your first time playing, but after a while you'll kind of learn where to jump and where the platforms are going to fall out. Next, there's this unique timed section, and I like how they added the ability to use the Force on these support beams to extend the timer. In the meantime, you get these cool cutscenes of Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting, and there's some really good animation work here. But after doing some platforming over the lava, the game has you fight Anakin, or if you're playing co-op, you get to fight each other. And then the ending cutscene is actually slightly different depending on whether you win or lose against Anakin, which is another cool feature. Another thing you might notice is how Anakin is using a red lightsaber. Apparently he was originally going to use a red lightsaber in the movie, but it got changed later in development. But obviously it was too late to change it back to blue when they shipped the game, so here it is. But after that, you do get to see a cutscene of a Lego minifigure giving birth, on top of the birth of Darth Vader himself. Alright, so that is the bulk of Lego Star Wars, the video game, but you might be wondering what this question mark door is in Dexter's Diner. How do you unlock it? Well, this is unlocked after you fill the true Jedi bar in all 17 of the game's levels. But after you do that, the question mark door leads to a secret level called A New Hope, where you get to play the opening moments of that movie as Darth Vader and a stormtrooper. Completing this level even unlocks them as playable characters. I guess Traveler's Tales already knew they were going to get to make a sequel by using this level as a tease. So in conclusion, Lego Star Wars the video game is a really fun game for both Star Wars and Lego fans of all ages to enjoy. Sure, there are some frustrating levels and the lightsaber duels are pretty basic, but the gameplay is simply addicting as you're going around and destroying Lego objects for studs, and the sense of progression you get from being able to buy things in Dexter's shop using those studs keeps you coming back for more. The game also offers replayability in the form of free play mode and the collectible Minikits to find in every level, not to mention the charming cutscenes that add humor while still respecting the source material. It's just a shame that this game is not easily accessible on modern hardware. With Lego Star Wars the video game, Traveler's Tales created the winning blueprint that would be the foundation for dozens of Lego games to come. So alright guys, that's going to do it for my Lego Star Wars the video game retrospective. So let me know in the comments below what you thought of this video. I definitely enjoyed making it and kind of analyzing every aspect of this game. So leave your comments below, like this video if you enjoyed it, dislike it if not, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys next time here on Quick Break Games.